Hey, y'all. It's Juanita Coley, the founder of Solid Rock Consulting, where we help call centers implement technology, optimize the technology that they currently have in place, and build better workforce management teams. I want to welcome you to Call Center Chronicles. Call Center Chronicles is a place for CEOs, call center professionals, tech leaders, and yes, the customer looking to have fun yet thought-provoking conversations around how we improve customer experiences and companies' bottom line. We are on a mission to normalize women in tech and workforce management leadership roles, and we believe that that starts with conversation. Welcome to Call Center Chronicles. Hey, guys. Welcome to Call Center Chronicles. We are on episode 5, right? 7? We're 6. We've been having some episodes and I'm super excited for our guest that we have today. Last week, we talked through just some amazing things as we talked through with Janefa, talking through the new call center and the technology. And, by the time a customer calls, they actually want to speak to a person. So we had some great conversations with her, the CMO of Five9. And if you haven't caught some of our previous episodes, I highly encourage you to go back, watch some of the episodes, because we are definitely diving in and having some really thought-provoking yet fun conversations, as you heard about the show, surrounding call centers and how we can do better. I'm always thinking about how we innovate in call centers and how we can really drive the customer experience and agent experience and just the overall experience in the call center life. And so one of the things that Janefa said last week that was just super, I said I was going to get a mind blown emoji. Still working on that, by the way. But I said, this was so mind blowing to me, as she was saying how, we really have to basically get good at delivering. Let's just deliver on the basics. And then when we deliver on the basics, we can really reimagine and innovate from there. And, we're in a world, especially with entrepreneurs and just really wanting to be innovative, that is the big thing. We really talk about innovating in reimagining all of the possibilities. And so while that is key, and I 100% believe in that, we have to innovate. We definitely have to nail the basics. And so Call Center Chronicles was created to have that dialogue and have those conversations. So I'm super excited. Last week we did a little lesson. This week we're going to jump right into the interview because I'm super excited to talk to our guest. So I'm going to introduce to some of you all and present to others, Hosanna.
Hello. Oh, I seem to have lost you. It's just me now.
Bless you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. So tell me a little bit more about yourself. Introduce yourself to us. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So hello, everyone. My name is Hosanna Hali. I live in the UK, as you can probably tell by my accent. It's actually started snowing outside right now, which is typical of London in March. But I am currently an Azure specialist at Microsoft. So I specialize in cloud computing technology. So that's across kind of infrastructure and data and analytics as well. So really passionate about that. But on the side, I am really passionate about getting more women into tech, specifically women of color as well, because, there is much less of us in this space. So I run my own tech platform called the Tech Corner, where I give kind of advice, tips, tricks, resources, tools that people can use to start their journey in tech. So I share my own journey as well, because I think that's also really important. I just believe representation is really important within the tech space. People have to see someone like them to feel like they can achieve those goals. So really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, like you're like a girl hero. So, one of the goals that I talk about with Call Center Chronicles, as you heard, is to normalize women in tech. I stumbled into tech. I've always been a techie. I love technology and and everything like that. And I started my journey in call center as I was reading a what's called Blue Pumpkin. It was a manual, Blue Pumpkin manual, which is now Variant. And so that's how I got involved in call centers and learning about all of the technology and all of that good stuff, right? And the world just really kind of grabbed me. I was like, oh my God, it's so many different things that you can do in the call center space. It's not just answering the phones. And when I began to think about what you're doing, I discovered you on IG, so on Instagram, and I was like, okay, yes, I have to have her on the show because you're right. One of the things that you talk about on your platform is that you don't have to, necessarily be a coder to get involved in technology. And if you don't, what are some of the avenues that you can go in order to get involved in technology? And that has been my experience, right? I don't code, but I am definitely heavily involved in technology, in helping companies implement technology, optimize the technology that they have in place, and then building their workforce management teams. And I don't code, right? And so how have I been able to build this a career and even company without being able to code? And so I think that is a big misconception, that you have to be this genius coder or out here making Facebooks in order to in order to make an impact in technology. And so you talk about that heavily on your platform. So I want you to talk to us a little bit today about how you get involved in technology. What are some of the avenues that you've seen? You work at Microsoft right now, right? So what are some of the avenues that you've seen other people take and even yourself take to get involved in technology?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that you've said is completely true. I think when people think tech, they just think tech as, one job. They forget that tech is an entire industry. It's definitely not just one or a few developers sat in a room and then that's it. When you think about all the platforms that we use, even just Instagram, yes, there are developers there who need to build it, but we need project managers to make sure that the budget for updates are in time. We need UX designers to ensure that, everything looks right. There's so many people involved in the creation of technology. There are thousands of people involved in ensuring that we can use Instagram, and many of those people actually don't code. So yes, there are so many different avenues into tech. So if you are not into coding and you don't want to code, or you have learned to code, but you think, it's actually not for me, because I learned to code at university, but I don't code every day at Microsoft. So that's another misconception that people have. It's, big tech or FANG. It's just about coding, when it's not. There are, lots of us who work in these companies and don't code every day. So lots and lots of options. I could go on about non-coding tech jobs forever. Absolutely.
So tell me, why do you think that you mentioned this earlier about being passionate about women getting involved in technology and not seeing as many women involved in technology? Why do you think that is?
I think it's because it starts at a young age. So statistically in the UK, young girls start dropping off kind of technology and STEM from the age of 14. So a very young age, they decide that it's not the route for them. And I think that's because, one, there's a lack of encouragement within the school space to get girls into tech or just STEM in general. There's lack of representation. So even the teachers that you have tend to be male. The representation within the media growing up, I never really saw Black women in tech growing up, not on TV or anything like that. So that makes it even harder. And then you just don't think that, it's for you. You have a misconception that there's only one single job in there. And then when you do go to apply, when you are a woman, you're walking into rooms where there's kind of no one like you, which makes it even harder. So I think that it starts from a young age. It's a number of things, but yeah, it really puts women off, and young girls, unfortunately.
Tell me, what was instrumental for you getting into a company like Microsoft? It's a massive company. Like, what was instrumental? What made you decide? So, kind of really two questions. What made you decide to go into tech? And then what was your journey like getting into a company like Microsoft?
Yeah, so getting into tech, so I did my undergraduate degree in business and then went on to do my master's degree. So the plan was to do my master's degree in finance because I was like, oh, I need to get some money. So it makes sense to do finance. But I then decided to do a master's in computer science. I had the opportunity to kind of move from business to computer science. So I took it, and I think what made me do it was the support from my family. So I remember the choice that I had to make. I was kind of like, and it was specifically kind of my dad. I was like, Dad, I've got to decide, what should I do? And he was like, finance is always going to be here, and he's in finance. So he was like, finance is traditional, it's always going to be here. So go for tech because it's new, it's exciting. And I've always been kind of driven by like shiny things. So anything that's like, that's going to bring a lot of excitement to me. So that's the route that I took. And once I graduated from my master's, that's when I applied for Microsoft. So the journey was long, as you can imagine, for kind of this big tech company. The application process is very long. But, I really just stumbled across it. I saw that they were looking for people, for graduates, for early in career. And I was like, I need to apply. If I'm going to work in tech, then I've got to go and try and at least get into one of the big ones. So yeah, there was a long application, so interviews and, CV submission, testing, group tasks, presentations, lots of things. But it was an enjoyable process for sure.
How could one, so I'm in this group that shall remain nameless. I'm in a Facebook group, and the I'll tell you, the idea of the group is that it's more like an outlet for agents, and they just kind of talk. They talk about how, they hate their jobs, and how, the customer is, always harassing them, and how the company just doesn't understand, or the companies, because it's a generic group, so anyone can join. And so I'm always looking to learn. So I'm always looking at, what can I learn from these different experiences? And so I'm always interested when I'm asking, have you guys looked at other, roles in the company? And, it's more than just one type of thing that you can do in this particular industry in call centers. What would be your experience, or what would be your answer or word of advice to someone that is looking to kind of get involved in tech, but they don't code, or, things like that? Like you mentioned earlier, so many different positions you can go into. What would be your advice to kind of them career pathing and kind of moving from more of an entry level to something more evolved in that they would enjoy?
I think the first step is always doing your research. I think that's really, really important. So, listening to podcasts like this and shows like this, and, following the people on Instagram and things like that, and just using kind of Google, Bing, and all of that good stuff to do your research. If you just type in kind of non-coding jobs in tech, there will be lots of options which come up, and then just start having a look. I think it doesn't hurt to have that knowledge, to just see, okay, these are the jobs, these are the job description, look at the skills that are required, look at the descriptions of the roles, and start finding those transferable skills. I think a lot of people think that if they're moving into tech from a different background, they need to scrap all the skills that they have right now, which, of course isn't true. If you're working in a call center, you already have some great transferable skills that we need in tech. So things like, communication, influence, facing, negotiation, like your customer facing, all of those really important skills. We need that already in tech. So think about those skills that you have and then try and match that to some of those jobs which are kind of non-technical or non-coding. I would say that's the first one. So that's that research piece. And then I would say start networking. So whether it's people within your company who are already doing the job, or reaching out to people on LinkedIn who are, doing the job that you're doing, you would be surprised how willing people are to help. People love talking about themselves, so they would to help you. So reach out to them, say hello, and say that you're interested. Start doing that work. And then I guess the last thing would be to just start building those new skills that you might need. Even though you are in a non-coding or maybe non-technical job in tech, you still need to have an element of knowing tech trends, knowing the industry. So use the platforms, things like GeekWire, things like Glassdoor, to get an understanding of the industry and the skills that you need. And then, start matching all together. You have all the things, you have the skills, and then you have kind of the network, and start slowly kind of making your direction there. And you will make it there. People think that it's an instant thing, but it isn't. Like, my sister came from a non-technical background. So I did a tech degree, she didn't. So she has 2 non-tech degrees. And only 2 months ago, she started as a software developer.
Wow.
So she transitioned over. She knew what she wanted and she was very focused. So she was like, I'm going to become one.
Wow. Back that up. Back it up. So tell me about this again. So your sister doesn't have a background in tech, and she started 2 months as a software developer.
Yes. So she has 2 degrees as well, undergrad, masters, both non-technical. And then 2 years ago, she, when I started in tech, she kind of started seeing, she's my older sister. So she kind of started seeing that she used to be in human resources. And she started seeing that tech is, exciting. So she started going to meetups, doing that network. She started doing the research. She did lots and lots of like meetups with coding people. Then she did a coding boot camp. She was lucky it was a kind of a scholarship one, so she didn't have to pay. And then she got the job. She started applying for jobs, and she really did the work, built her CV up, kind of reached out to recruiters, and she recently started. So I'm really proud of her. So shout out to my sister.
To your sister, we need to know about this boot camp though that she went to. I'm sure people in the audience want to know, like, tell me about this boot camp, because that's amazing, right? Because again, the reason I'm honing in on that is because I know that sometimes people can feel stuck, like, hey, I've only ever done X, Y, and Z. I've only ever done project management, or only ever answered the phones as an agent, or I've only ever done X, Y, and Z. And we weren't even talking about this. This was just a totally different vein that we went down, that your sister in less than 2 years, she started working on this, and she transitioned her whole career from, did you say HR to now software developer? So that is amazing. That is amazing. Yeah. And she probably did the 3 things that you just said. She had transferable skills that she leveraged, right? Working with people in human resources, and all of those transferable skills. Then she began to build a network, right? By going to the boot camp, the coding boot camp. And then third, you said she began to work on building the skills that she didn't have, right? Yeah. So by going to the boot camp, she began to learn about, coding and different things like that. And bam, now she a whole software developer in here, out here. Yeah. That is crazy. That is amazing.
It's exactly that. Like you said, like it's about being focused. And I think that's what a lot of people probably forget is, if you have a goal, if you do want to learn to code, everyone can do it. It is an objective skill, right? You can learn to it. If you put the time and effort into it, you can do it. You just have to be focused. And that's exactly what she was. She knew what she wanted, and she was like, I'm going to do it. And I was like, yeah, you will. She started off really just going to meetups. It was just like people wanting to go into tech meetups in London. So she went to a few of those. Then that transitioned into going to a boot camp, and then that boot camp transitioned into a full-time role. So it's really amazing.
That's crazy. Do you know of any resources? Now I gotta ask this question. Do you know of like any online resources if people are wanting to learn about coding and different things like that, where even if it's at a fee or if it's any free things that you know of that people want to learn about coding could get involved in?
Yeah, so definitely it falls into different categories. So if you're looking for free, then I would definitely go for things like Code Academy, Free Code Camp, Code Wars, Khan Academy, and then of course YouTube. YouTube is probably it is the best learning platform that there is out there for free stuff, because obviously people post, 2-hour long tutorials on how to build a website and things like that. So you can really sit there and really learn. And then there's obviously the paid boot camps, things like Low Wagon, General Assembly, Makers Academy. Those ones tend to be paid unless you get a scholarship, which some people, they do offer, especially for women. That's why I think it's such a great time to come into tech as a woman right now, because the tech industry is desperate for it. So there are scholarships, there are insight days, there are things, companies are really pushing to get more women in, so they're focusing on that. So definitely look up these big tech companies. They are definitely wanting more women, so they're actively going out of their way. So yeah, if anyone wants to hit me up on Instagram, I have actually a list of coding resources, because I always get this question, so I can send it over to you if you need it.
Absolutely. So if you're following us on IG, I have her tagged. It's at the Tech Corner, right, Haley? Haley, Hosanna. I'm looking at your last name.
Yeah, exactly.
It's at the Tech Corner, and so she's always dropping something. I'm like, oh, I love that video. So the other question that I have for you was around, just this very thing, right? So a lot of times people think naturally our conversation just went towards coding, but there's so many different things that you can do. And if we just talk about Microsoft, since that's where you're currently at, what are some of the different things that you see people do in technology that if they saw code slap them in the face, they wouldn't know that that's what it was?
So the biggest thing I would say is probably tech sales. And a lot of people, I think, don't know about tech sales. It's still kind of a growing space, especially for cloud computing. So that's the area that I'm in. So what you do is that you learn the product, but you don't develop it. So, you would learn everything about, let's say, again, I'll go back to Instagram. You would understand how Instagram works. You would understand the features and stuff like that, but you're not developing it. So that's really good. You don't touch code. People come from business degrees, anthropology, or psychology. I've got ex-teachers, ex-policemen on my team. So, you don't have to have a background in coding. You don't need to understand it. All you have to have is those really important people skills, because you are customer facing. So I've got a portfolio of customers. So there's everyone else that works kind of in my space. And so, that is a really great space. And then there's other jobs like the customer success manager role, which is a post-sales role, which is growing in massive popularity lately, because, companies have realized that you shouldn't just sell a product. You have to stay with the customer after, make sure that they use it, they understand how to use it and stuff. So, for me, I would say tech sales is the big one that, at Microsoft, there is a lot of non-techies, because like I said, the focus is on the non-technical skills. Don't worry. Even that's the thing. People think big tech company means everyone's a developer. We're definitely
right. It's like, I don't know how to cut the computer on. So that's funny. So is tech sales like pre-sales? Like what I'm used to the term pre-sales. Is that like what tech sales is? It's like a supporting role for like the person who would be going out and selling the solution?
Exactly that. It's a pre-sales role. Exactly that. I would be considered a pre-sales either consultant or pre-sales solution specialist. And then within that, there's different variants of, technical. So you can start off with a really salesperson at this end, and then you get to things like the architect. They don't code, but they design what the product might look like. Like they just don't touch the code at all. But we also need things like UX designers, project managers, business analysts. Those are all non-technical roles as well.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, so the show is geared towards, call centers, right? But I'm always thinking outside of the call center because the call center touches so much. You think about it, right? If you need to deal with anything in your banking, if you need to deal with anything healthcare related, if you need to deal with anything and you need someone to reach out to, a lot of times that is a contact center. We've transitioned away from saying call center because there's so many different ways that you can reach out. You can reach out with voice, you can reach out via text, you can reach out via social, so many different avenues that you can reach out. And so I'm always just thinking about, agents or customers or whatever the case may be, all those different aspects that touch the call center. How could someone like an agent, okay, they are saying, hey, I'm an agent today and I'm thinking about maybe moving into the technology realm. I'm always thinking about, okay, how do they make that smooth transition? And I think it goes back to one of the answers that you gave earlier about kind of like leveraging, the transferable skills that they've already been using, like talking to customers and just being empathetic and listening, having great listening skills. Because when we think about technology, I'm always thinking about like the IT department that they're behind the scenes. They don't want to talk to nobody. Just give me your computer. Right. So I'm always thinking about how do we leverage those transferable skills and then kind of help agents kind of career path into other things that may be more fitting for their personality so that the customer really gets someone on the phone that actually enjoys talking to people all day. That's what they enjoy doing. They can't connect and talk to people. They're not complete. Those are the people that you actually want front and center, right, on the phone.
Exactly that. And I think it's also, we forget that, people who work in contact centers, of course, you guys use a lot of technology, right? You use so much. You need to keep the platforms with all the, customers' data. You have a CRM system that you need to use. I'm sure you're using some Office 365. I'm sure, you are using a lot of platforms kind of throughout the day, some tech platforms. So why don't you start off by kind of just specializing in that? If you have a very good understanding of your CRM system, if it's Salesforce or if it's Dynamics, those are companies, right? Those are businesses on their own.
That's
you could,
good.
Move into that space after, once you kind of, if you know that, I'm so good at CRM, you can then sell it. You could sell that platform to other call centers. Maybe you just switch and become on the other side of the table, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. That makes me even think about kind of like, that was actually my kind of career path, actually. So I picked up a book, Blue Pumpkin, and I was a call center agent at the time, but because the technology was in the center, it was what we use. It's variant nowadays, but it was the solution that was in the center. I became a SME on it, and I became all things workforce. So like I love all things workforce management and call centers. And so that's actually kind of how I transition out of taking calls, because, really not the in front of the person talk all day. But if you give me, the discipline of workforce management, then I'm there, all day long. And so I think what you honed in on there is finding, it's technology all around us in the call center. And so if agents are looking to maybe transition because maybe they are not the, evangelist for the product, and so they don't want to talk to the customers all day long, find the different technology pieces that are in the call center, whether it's the CRM tools, whether it is the, like you said, Office 365 and different things like that, and become a SME on that particular thing. And then now, even within the company, you can either move up or you can move out if that is what that means. That's really good. That's really good insight. Tell me, does Microsoft, and I'm sure I could look this up, but I have you on the line. Does Microsoft have an Office 365 certification type of, how you can become Google certified or Facebook certified? Does Microsoft have something like that?
Yes, we have plenty across our entire stack. So if you look at Microsoft, we're split kind of cloud, so that's Azure. Then we've got things like Dynamics, which is basically our CRM. Then we have things like modern working, which is Office 365, all of our devices and things like that. And each area has its own certifications. So you can become an Office 365 specialist, looking at security. How do we keep all of our, products secure, essentially? Then you can look at, cloud. But yes, you can go online. If you just type in Microsoft Learn, that's our digital learning platform. It's completely free. All you have to do is sign in. And then you have paths, so learning paths that are put out for you. So yeah, so if you want to be, you want to be a specific role, you can just type it in like administrator, and then it will say
Get out of here.
Yeah, and then do it the next. Once you've done one exam, you do the next exam, then the exam after that. I am 100% for certifications. We're very big on them. In the big tech space, certifications are the new the new thing. So if you can become certified, it's a great way to start.
And where do you go again?
So just type in Microsoft Learn. Learn. I think it's .com. And then there's lots of learn. It's free. It's free to learn. It's free to learn.
Y'all better get these gems. That's all I'm saying. Y'all better get these gems on the show with Hosanna today. Microsoft Learn is out here passing out certifications. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's free to learn, and then you pay for the exam. But yes, everything up until then is free. And then sometimes Microsoft does give out free certifications as well. So if you go to our training days, so if you type in Microsoft Training Day, if you go to one of those, then they will give you a voucher at the end to take the exam for free. So get on there real quick because they sell out really quickly.
That is crazy. Okay, so, I want y'all to understand what's happening right here, okay? So, because again, I started talking about this group that I'm in that shall remain nameless. I want to just put that out there, okay? And so sometimes, there's a lot of, hey, this customer is working my nerve or blah, blah, and it's all different companies. So it's not geared towards a specific company. It's just where agents get together and just have their moment, right? And so I'm always like interested to learn about how you can, because there are some people that absolutely love talking and connecting. They'll talk all day. Like my mom's one of them. She will talk to you all day long, right? Right. And so that's a great role for her, right? As opposed to somebody else who maybe they have other transferable skills that may transfer to the tech space and they can get into the tech space, but they are like, hey, I've only ever been in call center agent, or I've only ever been a project manager, or I've only ever been like your sister, an HR person. How do I transfer into the tech space? It's new, it's shiny, and everybody, there are all of these initiatives to get women involved in tech and women of color in tech. How do I get involved in tech? This is one of the ways that you can get involved in tech, right? So we go to Microsoft Learn, right? We can even you can learn more about their product suite, get some certifications on some different things. And there are companies that are using Microsoft that need admins, right? So that's a super gem that you just dropped. So I just had to make sure that we correlated that back to what we was talking about and why I was so hyped about it. So if you didn't catch it, hopefully you guys in the audience caught that. Oh my God. All right, Hosanna. So one of my other questions that I had for you was around, so you were talking about earlier why it's important, or one of your missions, and it goes hand in hand with one of my missions, is to normalize women in tech and, specifically women of color in tech. And we don't typically see that in the technology sphere. How important is that? Why is that so important outside of representation? I want my daughter to be able to know that, hey, you can code, you can do those types of things. Why is that so important?
Well, because, it's a lot of people think that kind of getting diversity in tech is like an opinion, but it's not. Like it's a fact that diversity and more women in tech brings value to the tech industry. So women bring innovation and they bring revenue to the industry. So the industry literally needs more women. We're not saying it because it's fun or, just for, like you said, representation, but because the industry needs women. It needs women for advancement. And, women have been in tech since the beginning of time. Unfortunately, we've been pushed out rather than us, not wanting to come in. So it's going back that loop again and bringing us back in because we want to continue advancing the industry. And of course, on the representation side, we build technology. Well, we hope to build technology which is suitable for everyone within society. And that can't happen if there is of everyone within society, right? It doesn't work. So yeah, trying to get more women in is really important.
Yeah. So you said something that was super key, that we want to be able to build technology that's for everyone. And you can't really build technology that's from everyone if you don't have technology from everyone's perspective, right? Exactly. So how I may use Instagram as a 30-ish something Black African American female, right, is going to be maybe completely different than how someone who is Indian may use, a male may use Instagram, right? Because our perspectives are different and our use cases of the platform may be different. And so having a diverse software development team or a diverse tech sales team or diverse whatever, then now allows you to be able to market to me different and be able to create the software with specific features and functionalities that an Indian 55-year-old male may not. It's like, why do I need Boomerang again? Why are you shaking on my screen? Like, what is that about? Versus someone, a teen, right, that's in their, 13 and they're young and they want to do all that stuff. Shaking on the screen is fun, Yes. So, you're able to get more features and functionality when you have perspective.
Exactly that. And I think also with the future, if we want technology to make decisions for us in the future, like AI, we want it to be as unbiased as possible. And the only way that it can do that, if it has everybody's perspective, if it only has the perspective of one race and one gender, of kind of the entire platform, that's obviously going to be problematic because, technology isn't biased in itself. It's just a reflection of society. So we need to make sure that there's lots of representation when it's being created.
Hosanna, you just dropped the gem. Okay. You said that you said that technology is not biased in and of itself. It's just a reflection of society.
Absolutely.
I think we have to take a moment, a pause. I'm so extra. But it's true. That is so true. I need that's definitely have to be a show quote. Okay. Technology is not biased in and of itself. It is just a reflection of society. That is interesting. Right. So, it's a reflection of the maker.
Yeah.
In what we have. And so when we see technology that it has not considered, is not made for me, then I'm not using it. Yeah, right? It's not made for me. That's really good. So that is why it is so important that we have diversity. What do you think some of the things that we can do? What is some of the things that Microsoft has done? So you are at Microsoft. What are some of the things that Microsoft has done to help push forward diversity and made your career pathing easier?
Yeah, so the first thing, as I said, is starting young. So that's really, really important. So Microsoft has an initiative called DigiGirls, where we invite girls who they're in year 8 here. So they're about 13. who we invite them into the Microsoft offices. We give them an entire day on what it's like to work in technology, showing them the space, the opportunities that are in there. And then we give them a challenge, like a tech for good challenge, which they need to solve. So anything to do with kind of the environment or society or anything like that. So just to get them excited about technology. So that's an amazing initiative, which I think is really important, and Microsoft is really doing really well. I think we're doing a lot of kind of young girls initiatives, which is also really good. And then things like our different ERGs, so our different employee groups, resource groups. So the Women in Tech one that we have, where I sit on, we have a lot of events. We bring in a lot of speakers to inspire people to come into tech. And then we also do stuff like giving out, the free certification vouchers as well. So there's a lot of things that Microsoft is working on. The tech industry has a long way to go, but I think we can only, move forward. So we start by doing as many initiatives as possible at the moment.
That's awesome. I love that you talked about, what was it called? You said Digi Girls?
Yes, it's called DigiGirls. So we have it across the entire Microsoft, yeah.
And so that's a day where is that done multiple days throughout the year, or is it done just annually? Or can you tell me more about? I'm sure that the audience would love to learn more about DigiGirls. And how can anybody apply? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's done every quarter. So it's done multiple times a year, so not just once. And it's inviting girls from schools. So if you have a school that you want, to invite the girls to, I invited kind of like my old high school to come in to do the day. You can go online and find the information on how you can nominate your school to get the opportunity. So that's how it works. But yeah, it's a fantastic day. The last one, I think we had like 180 girls. Wow. So it's a lot of girls for kind of just one day.
Yeah, I bet you it's a lot. It's a lot. I have 3, and so I'm always like, oh Lord, help me now. All right, so DigiGirl. So yeah, I love those 3 things that you talked through that Microsoft is really doing to push the initiative to help women get involved in tech. Is one, starting young, like what you talked about with DigiGirls, also helping with the certification, giving out those certifications, and then having focus groups, right? Which is why I think Call Center Chronicles is just so important, is because with things like focus groups, you now create an outlet. We now start to move from just talking about diversity to inclusion, right? We now start to say, hey, let's talk about this and let's include people from different walks of life, because diversity is more than just gender and color. It's different backgrounds and experiences and things that I would have never thought about. Like I promise my mind stays in a constant state of blown. Yeah. Because I'm always talking to people from different walks and different backgrounds that have varying perspectives on things. And I think that's how we bridge and one, open up conversation, and then start to build that bridge to start talking about how do we get more women involved in technology, because that's important, because as we have more women involved in technology, then we can have better technology.
Exactly that.
Right?
Exactly.
More evolved technology. So my last question for you, let me get it here. Last question for you is leave us with a word. Like if you had to leave us with a word or a thought of wisdom about, women in tech, call centers, just anything that, you think is valuable, leave us with that today.
I would just like to say that, stop doubting yourself. If you're thinking about going into tech, you are exactly what the tech industry needs. As we've said, tech is for everybody. We're creating technology which is suitable for everyone because we want a world which works for everyone. That means you have skills, you have a perspective, you have experience, which we need. Every day you touch tech, right? So that means that your perspective will also be important. So stop doubting yourself, start learning, apply for that job, and don't be intimidated by tech. I think that's what a lot of people, they get scared. They think tech, they're like, oh God, no, I can't do it. You can. if I can do it, you can do it. Everybody can absolutely do it. So, just be centered in your value. I know it's tough when you're starting off in a new career or going into a new space, but you are, like I said, you're perfect as you are. So don't worry, come along. We need you, and you are going to make this space better. So just do it.
Hosanna, this was absolutely fantabulous. So if you don't know, I make up words. Okay, that's my thing. That's my business, like Tabitha Brown say. I do make up words. Absolutely fantabulous. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us today. I'm going to send you back over to the green room. I'm going to wrap up, and then I'm going to meet you over there. So just hang out with me for a second, okay?
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, y'all. It's Juanita Coley, the founder of Solid Rock. Michelle, I'm still working on the show, guys. Okay. Anywho, that was such an awesome interview. Hosanna hit so many valuable, points. One of them that I loved is we were talking about transferring your skills. Transferring your skills. You have transferable skills, okay? Making sure that you network and then build the skills that you don't currently have. So we talked about how her sister in 2 years moved from HR to becoming a software developer. My mind is still like, are you serious? And we're stuck. Why? So that was key. So if you're an agent and you're like, hey, I don't want to, always be an agent. I don't want to just talk to people all day. I want to move into other realms. That might be something that you might want to consider. Technology. I love technology. It's been one of the things that has allowed me to grow my career and even build a company. And so if you are looking into getting into technology, she listed a lot of great resources like Code Academy, Khan, YouTube. She even talked about certifications, getting certifications in a specific thing, right? So if you're working in a call center now, or if you're working at you're not even working in a call center, say you're working at a law firm or you're working at a doctor's office, what is the tools that they're using currently today? What are the software, the CRM tools that they're using? Go and look up those softwares and see if if they're offering any certifications where you can become the SME. And once you become the SME for that, and SME, SME stands for subject matter expert, for those of you that aren't used to using that word. Right. So once you can become the SME on a particular thing, that subject matter expert on that doctor office software, or that tool, or if you're in a call center, then you can now say, hey, I want to, work at this company or whatever the case may be. And that's an easy segue, or I use the word easy lightly. It may not be easy, but it can be a worth it segue into getting into technology if you're interested. So you don't have to be a coder to get involved in technology. There's so many different things that you can do. I don't code, and I'm heavy into technology. That's all I do is talk to call centers about implementing their technology, optimizing the technology that they currently have in place. And I don't code, right? So you can